And Ethan and I were kind of, no, you can't eat anything during this, honey.
I thought we get a little ASMR here.
That's not my thing.
All right. What do we have first?
This first question is going to be a really interesting one. Dawn Shue. This is fantastic. I have a 10.5-week-old Llewellyn setter named Mac.
Ooh, Llewellyns are pretty.
That we are starting to work with a little more intensely. Our challenge is that Mac is deaf. He is smart as all get out, already learning sit and down, but it is a challenge in timing when there is no click. Have you had any experience training deaf dogs, or can you give any pointers?
Interesting. So to start this off, it's awesome that you're saying, it's difficult in the timing aspect of things, because that is the most important part of dog training. And also the caveat here, we do not have any experience to our knowledge. Oh, the only thing that we'd have experience with training a deaf dog would be working with grandpa. But
that's not necessarily training a deaf dog. It's just working with a dog that's, losing his hearing in his senior years, because he's almost 15 and he cannot hear. He's to the point now where we can't let him out unless he's wearing an e-collar or in the backyard, because he'll just trot right off to visit the kennel or the bird pen, and he cannot hear you, and you have to go get him. And sometimes he's surprised that you're there.
Oh, whoa. Like, hey, I was just yelling at you. He's like, yeah, I didn't hear you.
Couldn't hear you. So, but that's not necessarily in the training phases of things. It's just in the management of a senior dog type of thing. So no, we don't have any experience training a young deaf dog, but we do have a lot of experience in training and the philosophies of training dogs and how important timing is. And Ethan and I were kind of, no, you can't eat anything during this, honey.
I thought we get a little ASMR here.
That's not my thing. I don't want to hear you crunching in my ears.
Well, if you have looked at YouTube lately, it's a lot of people's thing.
I don't care. Not my thing.
I'll just turn your headset down a little bit.
But we have a lot of experience working through difficult situations with dogs that, don't train the normal path that we need to make modifications for. So this would be a situation where we're going to have to come up with a modification for that. And Ethan and I were kind of chatting about this because we read that question the other day before we were filming. And I was like, we got to read that one in YAWA.
Yeah. So we've got to, realistically, you've got to come up with something to be a marker to say, yeah, that's good. And it's going to be, essentially thinking outside the box in a sense, because the normal thing, which would be a audible aspect of stuff, is not going to work. So we got to think, Kat and I are talking about what are the other senses?
Yeah.
Yep. So
we talked about smell.
Yep. How could we do something smell related that would help?
Which would not work necessarily timing wise, because the smell wouldn't dissipate fast enough to keep momentum of a session going, yada, yada. So we're like, smell's probably not in. We talked about sight.
Yep. Sight aspect of things. And I thought, well, maybe if you utilize like a flashlight or something to that effect as a marker, but then again, your timing is going to be off when the dog has its back to you, even though it may be exhibiting the behavior, just not looking directly at you.
Yeah, unless you did your training sessions at night and you had somebody flipping the light switch on and off. Maybe. It's a little iffy, and it would be really hard to generalize your training.
See, if the flashlight came directly from you, though, you could build really, really good eye contact, essentially, really good front focus. So there is a potential of that. I think that it would be difficult, but it would
be more difficult for things where the dog is moving away from you, like towards their dog bed, because they're going to get on a bed, but they still need to have that visual where they can see the light coming on to mark that.
The other side of it is, I think it would be hard to get, like I said, it would build focus, but it would probably be hard to get the dog to do other things other than focus.
Because they may get too focused on the light. And I was going to mention that, we have seen situations of dogs becoming light neurotic with the use of laser pointers and reflection off of, the back of your phone or your watch face. And then the dog's focus looking where the light came from last. Well, that could potentially happen with the flashlight as well. So we've got, smell and sight, which sight was an iffy one, but we didn't really love it.
Obviously, hearing's out.
Hearing's out.
And then what was left? Touch.
Touch. Right? And that was where I said, what about using the e-collar as a marker? Because they could feel it no matter if they're looking at you, not looking at you. And we've always used the e-collar in a sense of reinforcement before, and not as a form of positive reinforcement, and using it as a marking device. So you would have to, the same with a clicker, you would have to charge the collar then, and showing that the collar, the feel, the vibrate of the collar would be the good thing. So they'd feel the collar, get the food, feel the collar, get the food. So you would be charging the collar in a positive way, so that then when they got to you, then they'd feel the collar. Or when they got on the bed, then they'd feel the collar, and they would know that that reward was coming.
Now, I'm going to say right now, this is all theory. We've not tried any of this, and it would be a huge experiment that I would love to be part of, if at all possible. And
so that we could guide you through and evaluate if it's working the way it's supposed to be working.
Yes, and kind of help. It's going to make a huge difference. One way that we can work through that would be if you came out here for a consult.
And we're not sure where you're from. Yeah,
I know that's not always the easiest option depending on where you are, but then the other would be through Patreon. You can set up the video exchange option, or even better yet would be in this situation, the live option, which allows me to live watch your training sessions and be able to give you direct feedback. Yes, that's it. Nope, now stop. We're done. That's it. No more. And I think that would be a really cool thing to be able to take part in.
Yeah, for sure. So that was a really good question. It made us think a lot. It isn't a very, I guess, often asked question. So we literally had to think through the alternatives. And it was a really good, I guess, practice for us, really good exercise for our mental stimulation as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. That's all we have time for in part 1. We will be back with part 2 very shortly and answering more questions.